Hello, hello. Welcome back to Cryptomentals. Kevin here, and this is the third video I've made in the last couple days since I decided to launch this new project, cryptomentals.com. And really, I'm just starting with a series of videos that walks everybody through the timing of this upcoming altcoin bottom that I think is coming in sometime here in the next several months. We're starting to see the signs of the end of the bleed out, hopefully. And the first video I made was about the Bitcoin halving cycle and how I'm using that as the macro sort of roadmap for my bullish thesis. In general, I do think we'll see higher prices in Bitcoin and crypto towards the end of next year, sometime around there, based on the fact that typically there's a bull run after the Bitcoin halving, and typically that bull run ends up putting in like a blow off top or euphoric top about 18 months after the halving or so. Not trying to pick exact dates, but somewhere around there, end of next year, I think will probably be that sort of euphoric bull run. And then currently, the second video I made was more about medium term trend of like the majors like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and how they're actually showing, especially Bitcoin has a market structure double top on the weekly and daily charts here up against key 69K highs. And that's not a good look for the bulls. And Bitcoin might very well roll over here. So we're kind of at like a fork in the road of sorts where either Bitcoin has to build some strength above 69K and keep trending higher, or this M top actually is active and prices crap out and we have to see lower prices here in the short term, medium term. Very likely to happen. And so here we are with the macro bullish outlook. I'm not going to lose my bullish conviction. I don't think the cycle's over. I think there's going to be a bull run down the road. But in the meantime, it could get ugly. And then, of course, today's video is going to start to get into the altcoins a little bit. And of course, they've been bleeding out hard, and a lot of them got pretty obliterated of late, the last several months. Some of them are sort of showing tiny signs of a little bit of relief, but they're all looking pretty gross, with the exception of some of the random pumpers. And then of course the Solana memes, there's always something running, and there's always a bull somewhere, but in general the broader crypto market's looking pretty sluggish. So anyway, I'm gonna open up my chart here and talk about altcoins a little bit and what a bottom looks like. Well, first of all, the main point here, like I just sort of said, we are in the majors are looking a little heavy. They're not in buying location, and they could come off a bit here. In fact, I think I saw Ethereum, just on the lower time frames, Ethereum was dumping pretty good here a minute ago. Just lower time frames though. So, but point being, if those roll over, then there's probably going to be even more down in altcoins. And so the first point I want to make is just to be patient, and there's no rush to go in and buy these things today. There's no sign of a true bottom, like a real bottom. And so I want to talk about what a real bottom looks like today, and then also just kind of voice that opinion that really don't go blowing all your capital early. I think it's a bad idea to over allocate right here, because we might see lower prices for sure in altcoins, especially if Bitcoin craps out. So that's point number one. Let's go slow. So that also means this is pretty good time. And if you happen to be like a new person to crypto that just found me or something, and you're looking to allocate money, this is a good time to sort of get your act together, learn some things, get your plan together, and then actually go buy some altcoins here in the next several months, maybe as like a window into the US election. Because I do think like this bottom will probably present itself sort of around the election, and maybe after it, we actually truly break out and start moving higher. I think that's a fair window. So that gives us several months here of banging around down at the lows and forming these bottoms that I'm going to show you here in a second. So if you're new, you did miss some mini alt seasons here over the last year, but you're not too late. It's not like you're buying. I have XLM here on the chart that I'm going to use for an example. At least you're not buying up here. We want to first and foremost, teach ourselves to not go and buy into the euphoric tops. We don't want to be buyers up here. And sure enough, when this was like 2021 highs, everybody wants to learn how to get rich on YouTube and uh, or whatever during this time. And that's just the wrong time to be thinking about it. So right now where it's like, nobody cares about crypto. It's looking kind of ugly. Prices are bumping along down at the lows on all these shit coins. This is the time to be interested. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the weeds on individual coins so much. I just have a few examples I want to show and just remind everybody that we are a little early and to be patient, but I want to just to show you what bottoms look like. I use Stellar here because it's just Stellar has repeatedly played out the cycles to the T, and really this is the COVID cycle here. And you could pull up a different chart that shows Stellar from the previous cycle. This Binance chart doesn't have it, and see the same thing happened. But basically we're just looking for, there's one key thing that marks a bottom, and that's just a double bottom, a W. So, in general, we like to see W's with, the breakout level being through the middle point of the W. When price is breaking out through here and we have a nice double bottom where the right side of the W is higher than the left, that's a sign of a bottom, just as much as M's are a sign of a top. Now, we're talking about long investment portfolio trading, investing here, so M's are bad. We're not shorting. That's for one. That's like a sign of a bottom, and I see some W's here. Not to overly complicate things, but back here, Stellar actually has a Head and Shoulders bottom, so the Head and Shoulders is also a bottom, but it's a little bit different of a pattern. But those are basically the two types of bottom patterns that you'll see. And typically a Head and Shoulders really is nothing but like a steep kind of W on the right side of the shoulders. So the W is the key symbol or key pattern that we're looking for. And so until we start seeing W's in altcoins on a weekly chart, by the way, these are weekly charts, nice and slowed down. Daily chart's okay, but we're focused on the weekly chart here because we're playing this long-term cycle. And I think you can save yourself a lot of grief by, by sticking to the weekly, especially if you're like the type of person that's got a job or a life outside of this degenerate livelihood. Maybe you go and do real things and touch grass and all that. Then you only want to spend a few hours a week. Then a weekly chart's where to be. But anyway, that W is what marks the bottom. But really, there's a pattern in these cycles where altcoins pretty much run up, and then they come all the way back down. And then they usually put the W's in somewhere down here, and nice and wide. That's what a bottom looks like. That's what a cycle bottom looks like, nice and wide. Well, I can see that right here. We kind of came down. Stellar was way up here, back here, and it did work its way down. And then it started bouncing around. And it started trying to slow down. And then it finally basically W'd right there. Now that's kind of a Head and Shoulders, but that's still the bottom. And then there's a little W right here that marks the W, and then you see what happened on the other side. So this slow rounded out, that's what a bottom looks like. And then sure enough, it ripped up, and then it started rounding out slowly but surely, lower highs and lower lows. And then here, look at that. It like, oh, is this a W? Oh, nope. FTX, Luna blew up, all that stuff, crushed the market again. And then sure enough, there's the W right there. Boom. Pretty early this was February 23. So this was like the first part of 2023 was the bottom, and there was an alt season in this time. Stellar's pump was a little late, like right through this time, right back here, right into January, things like Render and all the AI names just ripped right here. That was the first like dead cat bounce, echo pump, whatever you want to call it. And that produced, there was a lot of W's that came in there, and there was like a little mini alt season, which is what you'd expect when things just get down on their knees. But hopefully you can see the roundabout pattern here and then that pump. And then now we're still just ranging sideways in accumulation. We haven't broken those lows. We're back down against them here, but you can still see the cycle bottom still basically in effect here. And we're getting closer to a period where, like, do we start rounding up now? You know, like what happens here? And I think in the next, while we're going to start seeing W's and then start trending higher into this real bull run that I'm expecting. So Stellar's, I'm not saying Stellar is the best cryptocurrency out in the world. It's just one that has, played these patterns out, 3 times. It's not shown here, but it happened back here in 2017 too. If I remember correctly. And back then probably traded against BTC actually, or I did. So that's what a rounded saucer bottom looks like. And the key point here is a weekly W. That's just like the simplest tool I can show you. And there's a nice cheeky little one right there. And you can see how if you would have waited for this W to come in and then bought the pullback, you would have banged out a double here. I did. It was close because it was like from 10. Well, the lows were like 7 cents up to like 19. So you had to be in there, 8 or 9 cents to get your double. But that's what we're looking to do is wait for these rounded bottoms to come out and start taking our shots on the weekly W's here and looking for, there was this pump and then there was like the Solana meme coin rallies of the end of last year and then March. So there was kind of like a second bull run that Stellar didn't really play too much of a part of right here. Like this little pump right here was sort of a kind of Solana memes running for the second time. I remember it because I first, December was a pretty good time to trade the memes. And then again in like February, March. So there was like two small alt seasons in the accumulation range. And if you watched any of those videos that I made, Crypto Traders Arena Sunday videos, we talked about for a whole year this accumulation range. And really that's what's happened here on Stellar. We have a bottom of a range and a top of a range, and we've just sort of spent, when is this? That was April of 2022, where we like capitulated into the real bottom at the end of December 2022. So we spent December 2022 till now, July of 2024, quite a long time just sort of ranging in this accumulation zone at the bottom of the range. That's a good sign of a cyclical bottom. And bang some doubles out along the way. You could have, lots of altcoins doubled through this period. And so by banging out doubles, I mean just selling half your position on a double and getting your original capital back. So anyway, first off is the W's key, but then more importantly, this whole pattern and of like waiting for the previous run up to retrace all the way back down into what we call good trade location. So this is good trade location at the bottom of a range. And what's essentially happening here is we're establishing a range on this run up. So Stellar established a range from the range lows down here to the range highs. And so as soon as this move was rolled over, like once we went into the bear market, you could start using this high as the top of your range and this low as the bottom of your range. And typically markets like to range. So there's a higher probability that this low will hold, into the future than be broken. Now, of course, anything can happen, and crypto's so damn volatile, anything. But like in general, we're basing this sort of pattern and this setup on we're looking for this old previous market structure to actually hold as price comes back down in here. And if you think about the logic behind that, it's just the smart money that was buying the lows of Stellar, all the insiders, everybody that was good traders, whatever you want to call them, whales, all the people that had a good idea and they know how this works, they're buying here and they enjoyed this run up and took profits. And now where do you think they're going to buy their positions back when price comes back? It's not rocket science. Like if you were a whale, if you were, what's his name? I can't remember the founder of Stella. Doesn't matter. But, because he was, the XRP guy's partner and they split ways or whatever. And nonetheless, doesn't matter. If you're those Jeb McCaleb or whatever, I think that's his name. If you're smart money buying down here, it's not a huge surprise that you're going to, the smart money is the one that's putting this bottom in here. And really, it's like as this capitulation move happened, that's when everybody was panic selling, running for the exits. FTX was blowing up, all that stuff, and everybody just shit the bed. But who doesn't shit the bed is like the smart money. They're like looking for that move. And so they put that first bottom in, and then that made price bounce a little bit. So then they back off on their purchases. and then they let price settle back down to their level again and buy again. And that's actually what creates the W. That's more or less what happens, you know, is smart money putting in the bottom through their accumulation. Now, we're not really interested in W's way up here in investing. Like, say we just got a W up here on Stellar because it came down and like that. That's not good trade location, though, because we're not down here at the bottom of the range. So we're looking for this long saucer bottom to come in, and really just there's a couple simple tools. Like when I do my basic analysis in these type of shows, if somebody asks me what I think is stellar, for example, I would, you know, basically first use a Fibonacci retracement, and I would just go, and we're talking cycles here, cycle to cycle. So most of these altcoins are down in good location off the previous cycle. So for the moment, I'm just talking about that, but I would, you know, take my fibs here and draw it from low to high. And really I'm targeting 78.6 and below for altcoins. So I have 78.6 in blue there. I like to call this the deep C, which is basically just 78.6 to 88.6. That's sort of like the window where you can start turning on your hunting, you know, put your hunting clothes on, but no W yet. But as price dips into this blue area, you can start thinking about the bottom coming in, because you're, you know, basically these fibs are telling us we've come off 78% of the 78% of this run up has been taken back right here at 78.6, and we went deeper in this case. I remember I was saying in the Bitcoin halving video from a couple videos ago, you know, Bitcoin loves to retrace 80 or so percent off of every cycle top, and altcoins were closer to like 80 or 90, or sometimes even to new lows. So we have the first reason is location here, and we're looking for 78.6 at or around 78.6. If a W comes in around 78.6, even better. Maybe it comes in down at 88.6, fine. Point being is wherever the W comes in good location is the key. And that's what we're looking for. So that's from cycle to cycle. But now, because we, you know, like in the case of Stellar XLM, we have, you know, we've had some mini rallies here. So now I'm not really focused on the old cycle highs at this point for drawn fibs, because, you know, we already know that we're in good location for the most part. Most of them are way down against their old highs. I'm most interested in the same pattern occurring in like the inside of this accumulation range, which, you know, hopefully you can see the same pattern sort of starting. We had the run up, and then we have the run down. I mean, we had a little pop there, but made a new low. Another lower high, you know, lower low, lower high. And then probably over time, you know, we're going to get some sort of W in the next few months. So I don't think just because we popped here a little bit, and XRP's ripping right now, actually. And so this thing's probably going to get drug up with XRP a little bit. But they seem to run together. Although not so much now. I haven't looked at XRP today, but I know it's pumping. Point being is I don't think it's a rush to buy here. Going back to being patient, I think we're early. There's not really that huge of a, you know, it's sure if you're the biggest Stellar advocate on the planet. I don't know what the hell does Stellar even do these days? I mean, this is a big, huge name from past cycles, and now it's just sort of an old boomer coin, I guess. Dino coin. I'm still nibbling on it. I banged a double out here actually and reloaded, and you know, so I'm still into Stellar. I like it. I don't know what it really does these days. But point being, we're still a little early and we're looking for that W. But I'm going to, you know, going forward as I analyze coins in these videos for the next several months, I'm going to be focused on sort of these mini ranges now inside of the broader bottom, you know, inside of the broader saucer bottom. I'm going to try to be buying against the lows, looking for W's against the lows of this range. So my fibs are going to look something like this, you know, from there to there. And you can see here, we're sitting in this, you know, the Brian Beamish reload zone, which is 61.8 61.8 to 78.6, which is you know, this box sitting right in there. So right now even, so you can't say that location's bad. It's just with altcoins, I kind of look for closer to 78.6 than 61.8. So location's good, just need a W on Stellar. So but mostly I'm not really trying to sell everybody on Stellar. At the moment, I'm just really trying to prove a point of how this pattern looks, and this is about as nice of a version of it as I could find. So real quick, jump into a couple other examples to just sort of see different takes on the same thing, and most altcoins look around the same. more or less the same. There's some that are stronger than others, and then there's like the medium tiers that really haven't come down far enough, like Render and like I have a list of names that actually are still kind of hovering around in kind of this sort of part of the it's like they had a big run up, they kind of retraced, but they bounced again, or maybe they're even a little stronger. Like let's just look at Render really quick because that's probably a good example. These are sort of off the table at the moment. Yeah, see, like Render's kind of closer to like Solana or something where it actually has an M top. So like sort of the more major coins, that thing actually has an M top that's just kind of now coming in. So we have a lot of work on these, and so that does suggest that there's a lot of time here. We're still way early. Don't go all in too early, that's for sure. And of course, some of these stronger names, if they crap out, some of the shittier names are going to actually have to go even lower. So that's why it's crucial we wait for the W's. Until you really see the W's, there's just not too much point in getting too active, until we see something truly like that. I mean, you can see the W's back here, right? Like, there's that one. And then even a wider one. You could see a W there that marked the bottom of that cycle. So let's wait for those is the point. But also these sort of medium tier coins are closer to the top or middle of the range than the bottom, whereas things like XLM are closer to the bottom. And stuff like this Rose is one I just kind of like. Don't know much about it fundamentally, but it's really nice looking chart. Looks like I already had my drawings on here that I was going to make, because I actually made this video a minute ago and then realized that I didn't have the right screen sharing. So I did a whole video and then this stuff is, and of course I'm just making these. I don't have any huge intentions for where I'm going with this. I'm just kind of starting. It's kind of fun to make a website, and I want to do some sort of blogging style stuff and some of these videos, and let's see where it goes. I'm just going to do it as I have time and see fit and what I want to talk about. But the mission one is to sort of make this series where, because I'm trying to time this bottom too, and so I'm just going to sort of pick up with that and just kind of keep making these, so I keep my head in the game, and a few months down the road when something like this is starting to see W's, I'll be making a video talking about the W's. So that's the goal. And so here's Rose, kind of looks like Stellar. You could see a little cheeky W right here before the last run up, right there, a little one. And hopefully you can see a now more of like a cycle W. So there's like a solid bottom here, and even like the old lows here. I don't know how this chart looks elsewhere, but just kind of sticking with that Binance low, you can see how we came down all the way against the lows and started at bottom. So that's a good sign. That was the sort of accumulation year bottom. Now we're in like sort of the post accumulation year retest or something, if you will, because we had like one pump, two pumps in the case of many altcoins, but we've now established a new range, and I've drawn my fibs off of the lows of the cycle range, the bottom so far, and I've up to the highs, and you can see how we came down and found some support at 61.8, but it's not really buy territory yet. I mean, you can see how we did dead cat bounce, but we made a lower high. It's not like we kept trending higher right here. And then we actually sort of M'd out again and had a lower high. And now we have a new lower high this week at the moment that looks like we could easily, these two lows are equal lows. We could easily see those taken out. I can easily see 78.6. In fact, I'd be willing to bet we hit 78.6 bare minimum. And we slam down into that blue box, maybe lower. And eventually, wherever it comes in, we'll see the W. So we have all this time to just get our plans together, get our capital together, figure out which coins we want to buy. Because, of course, you can't just go buy every coin. Nowadays, there's thousands of them. So we have to sort of weed out the ones we don't want. They all kind of look the same structurally and in the charts. But point being is you're way too early here. This is a bad area to buy. Sure, you're in the reload zone here below 61.8, but that's just you're just asking for a haircut here. I mean, that's 60 or 067 cents, 7 cents. And then down here, 78.6 is 60.066, and then 88.6 is 05. So I don't know, 20, 30% easily could start coming off, 20 So you could, there's not a real rush. Now, things like dollar cost averaging and stuff, okay, fine. If you have that sort of plan, or even knife catching levels is okay. I do a little bit of that too. Like I would be fine with just taking a nibble as we hit that 78.6, but that's me. And I'm willing to just sort of nibble my way in. But in general, I'm not going to over allocate, and I'm going to wait for the W for the bulk of my position. That's sort of how I roll. But for simplicity's sake, and for people that aren't experienced, I'd say just wait for that W, and you'll be way better off. Even if you ended up buying a little higher, like say prices go way lower and then W, and you're buying at this level, like say that, maybe price dipped down here even to a new low before actually Wing, but you ended up long from the W that came in a nice W, you're still better off. Because, we're looking for way higher down the road, right? We're looking for moves like 10x type moves and stuff. So, waiting for the W's is going to be best for a new person. So anyway, that's Rose. Nice looking chart. I won't talk. CHR is almost the same, so I'm not going to spend any time on it. Just pointed out, I already drew the same thing, but I will just point out this W here and how likely it is that price will come all the way down to that purple line. So you're way early here too. Just let it. This one, I'm hoping to buy. I missed this run up on here. I had bids working and never got filled, and it took off without me. So I wouldn't mind getting into this as it comes back down in that area, but still waiting for a W's key. And if I wanted to draw fibs here, I can see where those levels are going to line up to, very much like 88.6 is right near that W bottom. And for that matter, if anytime you can find coins where there's a previous weekly W and it lines up in this area, 78.6 to 88.6, somewhere in that area, maybe even right on those levels, even more confluence, that's a great level to consider buying, because there's a really strong chance that the smart money is going to step back up in these areas. They're going to let price come down to them, and that's where they're going to load up. And we want to just do what they're doing. So CHR, and then a couple slightly different ones. I don't want to go on too long, so I won't say a lot about Band. Hopefully you can see the patterns, the same kind of things here though. Like, Band enjoyed two like sort of dead cat bounce pumps. One at the end of 2022, one at February, March 2024, and like little W in there. Run up, draw my fibs. You can see prices come all the way down. This looks like stellar. It had a little bounce here recently, but chances are we still got to just bang around and maybe lower, and then the W will finally come in. We don't know where that W is going to come in. That's why we got to be patient here and wait for it, because it could be quite a bit lower from where these things are sitting right now. So go slowly. And the last two, I just want to talk about the other option where things are just falling apart to new lows. Like FXS was making a very nice looking bottom here, lots of support like all the way through this area. Nice W action, W there, tried to pump here, didn't quite get going too far, but did put in a little W. So this was, this is the kind of thing that could happen here to more of these if Bitcoin craps out. And so you can see how the bottom was coming in, and then all of a sudden, and now it's just making new lows after new lows. So first off, you just don't even touch something like this right now. I'm already long, to be fair, and I'm up in these W's, and so I'm underwater here. I got to wait it out or add once the next W comes in, is my intention. But and I didn't get a double off this. I got a double back here, and then didn't get one here, and so I'm just underwater on that, second car. But the point I'm trying to make here is what happens when these things crap out to hell. First things first is just wait, because this thing could just keep going. Who knows? I think it's going to go to about -8. At least we know it probably won't go negative. Who knows? Can it go negative? But it certainly could go to 0.00001 or whatever. Like, there's no reason why this thing won't just keep drifting down. Kind of sad. I know a lot of people that are really into this name. Hopefully people aren't getting too wrecked. I'm not too worried about it. I'm conservative by nature, and I don't put too much into each one of these. But point being, if it's making new lows like this, you got to just wait it out. And I'll slightly, because you can't draw fibs here, so we don't have any way to draw fibs anymore. We're now making new lows. We're going into new territory. So really, what I kind of like to do is just whatever moving averages you like, but I find that just a 21 EMA, for example, can do a pretty good job of picking the trend. And what you're looking for here is areas where price consolidates against the 21 and maybe puts in a W through it. You can kind of see how the W's here broke through and produced a little rally. Then we had to go into a bear again, and it became resistance, resistance, resistance. Then that little W came in and we broke through it and produced a rally, and then fell apart again and went into a bear. And now we're strongly in bear. I mean, this is strongly bearish because this is just pointing down and price is pretty far away from it, the moving average. So something like this, I need it to just, what you'll find is this, at some point, this 21 will start rounding out a little bit, and then price will probably bang against it a little bit. And eventually there'll be a W kind of like through it. And that's how I'm going to sort of gauge my bottoms. I'm looking for areas like that once we've been breaking new lows. And one more example of that before I call it a day is like this BSSB, which is a newer issue. And so I picked this one because it is newer. And so a lot of the newer ones have just been out of the gate down. And if you see a situation like this, you can see my 21's way far away from price. So there's still, I mean, sure, you could even have a nice trade. Like if you go into the lower time frames, maybe little W's come in and you start, you trade from like 21 cents up to 72 cents. There could be a huge move up into that 21, but just know that 21 is resistance and it will probably get rejected there. But that's a big move in itself. So that's trading, not investing, but like I could see trades happening back to the 21. But if you want to wait for this thing to truly bottom in a cycle sense, it's got a lot of work to do. This thing has to keep going. Price is probably going to rip up and, tighten up against it and eventually get above it. And this will round around, and there'll be a W somewhere around there. That's kind of when I'll gauge the shift from accumulation to uptrend. Hopefully that makes sense. I just got a little over 30 minutes and I was really trying to keep these under 30 minutes. So I'm going to call it there anyway, but I did finish all the names I was talking about. I'll leave it at that. And I think going forward, so I explained, my macro thesis. I talked about the medium-term Bitcoin being kind of heavy, and I've hopefully stressed the point that these altcoins have a lot more work to do before they bottom, and so be patient. There's no rush. However, it's perfect timing to start paying attention and get ready for this bottom that I think's coming in, like in these names like Rose. I think we'll probably get a really nice bottom down the road here, like I drew. So we're just waiting for that period, and I'm going to, so going forward, I don't know exactly, I don't have a plan, but I did get through my first 3 of the plan, which is now to just sort of show you guys what bottoms look like, what I'm looking for. And then I think there'll be a mix of just sort of trying to pick good names and take a look at names that people send me requests about, and just start carving out all these altcoins and see which ones I like the most. I mean, I already have a bunch, and I also will be reloading on a lot of those. So I already have like an idea of what I'm doing in my account, but I also want to sort of make a more refined version for this, or at least just be a little more picky and not have as many names. I have like a lot of names. I'd really like to keep it to maybe even definitely 100 or less, but maybe even like 50 or less. Try to find the 50 best trades we can find in this bottom or something like that and take nibbles on all those. Don't have all that worked out yet, but the rest of these videos will be just talking about that. So if you enjoy this, please hit the likes and subscribes and all that, and feel free to reach out to me with any feedback or what you think I could do better, and I'll just, make another video in the next few days. And check out cryptomentals.com, because I do want to sort of try to create like blog type posts for these too, with a little bit of writing. And sort of my goal is to make that website someday be sort of like a nice solid resource for quality analysis. So see if I can do that, just working here in my spare time. But thanks everybody, and I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.